Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're just letting people into the session. So for now, I would love to know where you guys are located right now. If you're in the US, are you covered under snow? If you're in Europe, is it sunny there? I'm out here in Virginia in the US, and there's a lot of snow, and my dog is raring to go out and play in it.
It's fun. You need to get out there and play in it with your dog. It's the best thing about snow. Fabio, how ghastly? Is it ghastly in terms of snowfall or just coldness, just temperature? Which is it? Or both? Hello, Marianne.
How about Yuri? How's the weather in Portugal?
Well, it's extremely windy because we have I don't know, the third storm in a row. So we are getting very strong winds, like 140 kilometers per hour, which has been fun. You feel like to fly around the street.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
I imagine Portugal is like warm places in the US that are just unprepared for certain kinds of weather because it just doesn't happen often enough. Is that right?
Well, partially, yeah.
A little bit?
I would say so.
You can tell New Englanders like us are really prepared for big snowfall because like you go to the store and the parts of the store that are really busy are like everybody has the biggest thing of toilet paper in their cart. So you know, priorities. It's like, what are the things that you absolutely don't want to get snowed in without? And it's like toilet paper and, you know, Dunkin'. It's like, let's get some Dunkin' and store it in the refrigerator for a couple days. Although looking at the international quality of our audience so far, Duncan probably isn't resonating with anybody. That's James, you're a big Duncan guy, aren't you?
I am a big Dunkin' guy. I mean, everyone who's attending can probably tell that I'm not from the States, so the chance to get a hand on a good donut is not lost on me.
That rare part of Virginia with a strong British accent. You're saying you're not from there?
Yeah, funnily enough, no.
Ever since the colonies, they just decided they're going to hold tight to that accent no matter what. Yeah.
Hit me on the head.
One wine bottle storm. I've Marianne, everybody I know in this area would tell you there is no such thing as a one wine bottle storm. There's only cases. It's all measured in cases. All right. Should we go?
Yeah. Yep, that's okay, so let's do a little housekeeping before we get started. So I'm James, the head of marketing here at Hunter. Today I'm going to be moderating the session, so I'm going to be responding to your comments, gathering your questions, and kind of handing over to Matt and Rui to talk you through Google's Gemini update and really what that's going to mean for you in terms of your email outreach. Just some housekeeping items. We do have a questions and a chat functionality down in the bottom right of your screen that you should be able to see. I would ask you to drop your questions into there. We have a good portion of time today dedicated to answering any of your questions about this update or anything else around your email outreach. We plan to go for about 50 minutes, so that will leave us about 10 to the hour. If you have any questions as you go along, please put them in the comment section. But for now, I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to hand over to Matt and Marie to talk you through this exciting update and what it's going to mean for you this year.
Thank you, James. And as always, guys, there is a Q&A portion. So even if it's not related, even if your questions are not related to the Gemini update, don't hesitate to drop them in questions. And we try to do our best to get to all of them in the not just in the chat, but also in the main questions area. Those are easy to find, by the way. So please use that. And we're the hosts. There you are, Rui. You got to be first.
Hey, everyone. I can go in first. So I'm Rui, based in Porto, Portugal, and I'm basically managing product and Hunter for the last almost 2 years now. So it's been fun ride.
So all the product improvements that you guys have seen, all of the like massive increases in sort of value and functionality, you have Rui to thank for that. So, and also if you have like really hard, deep technical questions,
please,
he's your guy. Just load us up.
I will make sure. I'll make sure to forward them to the right people.
We can play 10 minutes of Stump Rui at the end if you want.
Yes,
That'll be good. That'll be good. You want to, yeah, let's go to the agenda. So as you know, for the kind of core here, there's some things that are changing in Gmail that are going to affect all of us on both sides of the email sending game. And, look, there's lots of inbox updates. Why does these matter? And we're going to talk about why this part is worth emphasizing, why these updates are materially important to you, what you can do to adapt. Listen, the great news is all the stuff that we've been learning and sharing with you guys over the last 2 years as we've done more and more research in the space are proving to only be more true with AI. So that's great. It means it's not like we're going to turn you guys on your ears trying to spin you around in a new direction super quickly. This is all, I think, going to just reinforce the values that we've seen. And then lastly is the Q&A, is making sure we can address any interesting questions that you guys have about how you can get more out of Hunter, how you can be more successful with outreach, anything in those two categories. So let's start with what's actually changing. I'm assuming you guys have seen either our blog post or Google's blog post, or maybe both. So we will summarize the key bullet points here and try to focus on the things that we think are really going to be impactful to you, because like a lot of the stuff that's being announced in Gmail from Gemini is around writing and trying to actually do better, get better writing assistance in your process. We're not going to focus on that because that ultimately is not going to be as big of an impact to you as the filtering and some of the other things. So those are the things. Let's talk about what's changing. Again, if you haven't seen it yet, I highly encourage it. We can put the links here in Slack, but Google announced an update to Gmail in January earlier this year that is about Gemini being in Gmail. So that's been the announcement. If you haven't experienced it yet, then you're probably like me. It is not rolled out to everybody. Rui has experienced more of it than I have. And so it's important to note that they've announced it, but it has not impacted everybody yet. The kinds of things that they're rolling out are things that seem logical for an inbox, right? Things like summarization, especially for threads, which by the way is awesome because Google and Gmail need this. Threads get messy. So being able to summarize long email threads and give you essentially a summary at top so you don't have to go through the entire thread. That's really great, whether it's one email or 10. There's a power searcher option. And maybe a better way to say this is they're basically integrating AI overviews into search in Gmail. And so the experience that you have on Google of searching and then seeing the AI overview first, just translate that experience to your inbox for search. It's not necessarily a good or a bad, it's just one of the changes that's coming, and I think there's ways to think about how that impacts your outreach campaigns. There's the VIP filter. Again, I haven't experienced a lot of this yet, other than the stuff that happened pre-Gemini. And I think what we all experienced at that time in the email marketing space was that VIP priority list was really kind of your friends and family, and everything else got put into a different tab. And so what we can expect is actually a finer grain on that with Gemini, because it's going to be able to read emails and interpret better than keywords. But at the same time, it's kind of an evolution of the same feature. Clutter filter, which I'm extremely happy about. I think every inbox has to have as much clutter filtration as possible. I get a lot of cold outreach, as you can imagine. Given who I am and the company we are, I get, I don't know, about 100, maybe 115 pitches a day, which makes me a great source of what not to send to CEOs, by the way. So if you're interested, let me know. And then Apple integration. So because Apple finally decided that it was better not to compete with everybody else at something they were clearly very bad at, they decided they're partnering with Google. Good for them. But what that also means is that the Apple-based email experiences that you might be using, whether that's the Apple Mail product or Gmail on iPhone or iOS devices, it means those things are going to be updated as well. And so it's not just going to be the Google Gmail web-based app. This is going to impact all Gmail, the majority of Gmail users at some point. That's really important to know. So thinking about it as an AI gatekeeper is probably a good thing. I think it's pretty apropos. And also, by the way, if your inbox is anything like mine, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, this is not just like, oh no, we're all in trouble. Some of this is good. And so it's about tools and how do you use tools and how do you get leverage, knowing how the tools work. So that's a lot of about what we're going to talk about. Yeah, why does it matter? Rui, you want to take over?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as you've described, for me, the way I see it, this is that we are still to see a lot of this actually being rolled out. For example, as you mentioned, you have not yet experienced some of the updates. I already see on my account the summarization piece within the email threads. But all the changes that they are announcing are basically showing the direction that they want to go with the inbox in general, which seems to be along the lines of, whereas before your inbox was basically a passive element, just a place where you drop the emails, and then you as a human actually have to go through each individual email, each individual thread to understand what's there. This indicates, these updates from Google will seem to show that the direction we are going is that now, instead of having the human actually by default going through each individual email thread, you'll actually have an AI assistant that will summarize each thread, and potentially with something that they mentioned in the blog post to be called, I think, AI inbox, actually summarizing your inbox and highlighting what's within your inbox, what matters the most, what needs your attention at that specific moment in time, and so on and so forth. Which basically means that now it's we are moving from this passive inbox to a more active inbox, which basically means you need the inbox will decide for the user like what truly matters, what needs attention. So this changes a little bit that the mindset. Now we are not just optimizing for email opens or email clicks or those fancy subject lines. We're actually trying to optimize for trust and relevance and value that you deliver in your campaign or email sequences to your audience. Because with that change, you have to think that the inbox is no longer the place where messages just land and sit there. It's actually the inbox will become a system that decides what actually deserves or not your attention. So this basically means that you need to continue to do what we've been recommending the industry to do for a long time, which is make sure that you build short, highly tailored, highly focused lists so that you can make your email sequences super relevant for these users. Those sequences where you just say on the first email, like, hey, I would love to have a call with you. And then on the second email, you follow up asking for another call and so on and so forth. They will just be deemed as very little value. So when you go to this, when the recipient actually sees the summary of that thread, it just sees a guy asking for 4 meetings. So you need to make sure that your sequence actually builds up value. So you send some valuable content in the first message, you actually send a white paper in the second email. That will allow the summarization piece of the inbox to actually highlight this guy's trying to give you value about this and that the summary becomes very rich instead of the summary being this guy's trying to get a meeting with you. So that will play a big difference in terms of how the user, how the recipient will perceive your email thread. And again, think about the more advanced the search becomes with Gemini, or in general with any AI, let's say, powered email inbox, the more your email threads are clear in terms of intent, are clear in terms of value, the more likely it is that in the future, when the user remembers that someone mentioned something that was now became interesting, it will make it much easier for the AI to find it because you are focusing on value and again, not just trying to get for a call. And all of this actually sums up to, and this is, I believe, the most challenging piece because it's still not rolled out for everyone, so it's still not 100% clear out how it will work. But this AI inbox the more value your sequence will have, for sure, the AI will highlight it more likely compared to very low value sequences. And the more you bring this value, the more trust the AI will have in your sequence, the likelier it is it will be raised for the user. So I think the challenge, if this direction that Google is showing does come to place, is that not only you have to focus on building email sequences that are rich for the recipients, but actually you have to also focus on your email sequence to be training the AI, the inbox that is now AI powered, to actually understand what you're trying to accomplish and what's the value you're trying to give to your recipients. Which then again goes back into make sure your lists are small, make sure your sequences are super tailored for each of the recipients, personalize as much as you can, and focus on value and less on just pure pitching and asking for it. Yeah, so if you go to a simple, I already kind of covered this piece, but a simple example is compare the case where you have email sequence with 4 messages. On the first case, you just say, hey, I'm trying to sell this service and that service, and I would love to have a call with you. Second email, have you seen my previous email? I would love to chat. Third email, you continue that momentum. The summary of that for an AI assistant will just be, this guy's trying to get a call. If you compare that to a case where in the first email, you send an industry report about something that is relevant for that recipient, and then the second email, you follow with your own white paper, and then in the third email, you add some additional value, and then finally you ask for a meeting, then the summary of that will be much richer than the previous case. It will show a very high level summary of the white paper you mentioned, the report you mentioned, and then in the end, it will say that, yes, this sender is interested in having a call with you, but that already comes with a lot of context into why you should have that call with the recipient. Which is, so in a nutshell, you should look at your sequence. This was already the case, by the way, but I believe that the AI assistant in the inboxes just make it super obvious, which is you should look at your sequence not as 4 individual emails, but actually a storyline that you are pitching to your recipients. And you have to make sure that that entire storyline is consistent, is providing value, and is clear to the user. So it's basically, think of, you need to look at your 4 emails and you need to think about, how does this sum up? What's the summary of these 4 emails? Is this what I'm trying to pitch for my recipients? Is this how I'm going to engage with them? And in a nutshell, I feel that this is, again, nothing new in terms of how you should write your emails, your email sequences, but it just reinforces the fact that personalization is key, sending value is key, and in a nutshell, it might be a hard take, but I think that this direction by Google, I don't think Gemini will kill cold email, but definitely it will help kill lazy cold email. So those just lazy sequences where you just say, I want a meeting, here's a link for you to book a slot with me, won't work anymore. They were not working before, but for sure that now they will become way much harder to get any kind of meaningful results.
Well, it was like they worked just often enough to convince people they should keep doing it. And I think the good news, like, honestly, like, we really care that we're equipping everybody with tools to create good engagement. And B, we want tools that filter out any email that's not doing that. And so the good news is I don't necessarily see this as like a universally bad thing, or it's like, oh, it's just going to get harder to do cold email. I think what Rui said is great. It's going to be harder to do cold email badly and be successful with it. And like, that's not a terrible thing, but it does raise the bar for what we need to do to equip you guys and what you'll need to know in order to make sure that you're getting into the inbox. And so I think it just means, honestly, it's It's an opportunity to reset a little bit what strategies work. Something that worked 2 years ago is almost certainly not likely to work anymore for two reasons. One, it's been used to death probably. And B, we're getting a bit of an opportunity to reset. I think, Rui, I thought you said it really well. It's almost like you have a brand new personal assistant and they don't really necessarily know how to filter things out through knowledge. They're not saying, oh, like, I know this person, you don't want to talk to them. They're going to say, I think there's something about this email that's worth your attention. And that's going to sit on top of your inbox now. And so knowing that this person has this digital assistant that's filtering things out based on what I think might sound good, it means there's an opportunity to adapt your strategy. And I think that's something we're all going to have to learn together. I know we're going to focus our research on the data about what's working and what's not, so we can inform you guys. But like, it's an opportunity to rethink some of this. And if you've been focusing on quality over quantity, I think this just is an opportunity to double down on the benefits of that. Samantha, and then like, this is great, James. Stay here for a second. But Samantha asked a question. She says, it sounds like it would be more beneficial to keep all prospecting emails under a single thread rather than composing a new email for each touch. Is that correct? So first off, I don't have hard data handy to tell you definitively what the answer to that is. I can say that in some cases, it's good to do one reply as like a nudge to bounce it back up so it's part of the same thread. I think what we're going to need to learn together is, does that mean 2 nudges is good? Or after the first nudge, start a new email thread? Basically start a new email. I think that's something that we get a little bit of a TBD on now, because we don't really know what the AI filter is going to do to this yet. We know what its goals are. We know what its intentions are. But until we've all had it for a little while, and it's Google, they're going to keep tweaking it. So we're going to need to figure out how to optimize for that. But what I think, Samantha, is that you should have all the data that you need in Hunter to be able to analyze the results and test this for yourself. And I think that's really the encouraging thing for me, is that this is an opportunity to go back and re-experiment some things and figure out for yourself, for your audience, what's working and what's not. And this is a good opportunity to sort of revisit some of those decisions. If you're focusing on value, if you're focusing on delivering information that can be useful, if it's memorable, one of the other things that I like is, as the slide says, if you're proposing that you are an answer to a problem, you'll never fully know if they have the problem or not. But at least when they do, if you've positioned yourself properly, it'll stick in the back of their head. And this is one of my favorite things about cold email. I've seen this work on people. I know somebody emailed me about this like 3 months ago, and I kind of liked what they had to say, but it wasn't a problem I was solving at the time. Now I am. Where was that thing that told me about this answer to the problem? The good news is Gemini in your inbox is going to make search better, and it's going to make the answer to the problem easier to find for them. Because what they'll hopefully remember is, oh yeah, I remember they pitched me and they had something about, it was financial forecasting software. Let me go to AI, let me go to Google and search on this, and it's going to pull up in my inbox. Hopefully the AI overviews are going to do a better job of surfacing that email. So I think that's not a terrible thing. We should leverage that. Let's find ways with our campaigns to like actually do that. The smaller the audience size is, the better that message is going to be. That's just true. We've always seen that to be true. I don't think that this changes that. If anything, it reinforces the value of it. Making sure you're speaking to a problem in a way that they understand so that they can evaluate whether or not they have that need or not, more critical than ever. And making sure you're adding things that can be helpful. I would say that we, over the last few years, have seen an increasing strictness on the number of links, the amount of HTML in your email, like all of the things that you would need to teach a spam filter to look for because you can't read an email. The good news is a lot of that gets pushed off to the side, because with Gemini, they can actually read the email. They can determine if there's any value there. And so they don't have to rely on spam filters that are dumb, that are just saying, well, if there's 3 or more links in the email, throw it away because it's clearly spam. That's all spam filters do. They're just looking for pattern matches on things that might be spamish. The good news is if something is actually reading that email, you're far more likely, if there's content that's valuable, to get through. And I think that's the area where it's like, okay, let's leverage the strengths of these systems and let's see if we can double down on those. Marianne, you said if you were adding things of value, reports, et cetera, I'm assuming they are mostly attachments. Don't attachments affect the deliverability of emails as well? Is it more likely that emails will get through if the attachment comes as a second email in the sequence? Great question, good framing. First off, this is all new, so I think this is a little bit TBD, and I want to be careful not to make it sound like this is definitive. Yes, historically speaking, attachments would affect deliverability. I think we still need to treat that as a rule, but experiment to see if AI overviews or AI inbox is actually going to change the rules around that. Because I think it's very possible that it might. Also, to your question about first emails or second emails in the sequence, one thing I have seen people be successful with is an email that the first email says, I have this attachment, but I don't just want to dump attachments on you. Is this of interest? And I will be happy to send it. That allows you to put the attachment in the second email. It also allows you to ask for a soft commitment in the first email, which is more likely to get a reply. I think things like that actually could position very well in an AI inbox to be more successful than what we've seen in the recent past. So yes, I don't think, so the right answer is we need to find this out, all of us. The second is, yes, I do think something like that strategy in the meantime would be a better way to bring that attachment in rather than on the first one. James, I don't know, do you, in any of the research we've done, have we looked at attachments in a first email or second email? Is that something that we have data on yet?
Well, we may have data coming in the next couple of weeks with the 2026 release of the State of Code email. So everyone be sure to look out for that email from me. We will have something along those lines, but you should always be thinking about asking for permission with these emails that you're sending. So yes, the second email would be the right time to share that report, but you need to open the door. You need to knock on the door, sorry, first to say, can I share this research with you before you send it? Because the simple interaction of your recipient in that first email to reply will send a positive signal to Gemini to say, okay, well, yeah, there's a relationship building with this person.
Do you mind going to the next slide, James? Thank you. I've always joked that this is like the boring part of outreach, the technical setup. Nobody wants to hear about SPF and DKIM. Like, do it, forget about it. But the good news is that it's just one more thing that Gemini will look at as evidence of trust. And so spam filters, which were kind of like a dumb unit to sort for this, Gemini is going to be a little bit more articulate. And so if you've done all the technical setup right, if you're validating your emails, and so you're not just blasting 100 emails at a bunch of random email addresses in somebody's email server, if you're avoiding bounces, the good news is all of those things are only going to make you more trustworthy to the AI inbox. And as long as there's value and you look trustworthy, they don't really have an obvious reason to like sniff you out and push you off into a separate place. So the good news is like you can already see how these technologies are in play at Google now. You can kind of get a sense for how to use them. And I think the technical basics just become a requirement at this point. Like they should have been anyway, but like this becomes even more valuable because it's just another way that Gemini is going to go, let me check that box and say I looked at deliverability things and it looks good. So I think this just gets more important because it's almost like a set of checklists. It's like a checklist. In a hard deterministic system, like a spam filter on an ESP, they have to create rules. And the rules would say 3 or more links, discard it. If you can't verify the email, the domain, discard it. Like there's a bunch of things that they don't try to like actually evaluate because they can't. It's a deterministic system. It's filters and rules. AI isn't. It's probabilistic. And so all you have to think about is, if I put the right information in this email, what are all of the different things on my checklist that I can do to increase the probability of it getting through AI? And so because it's a probabilistic system, that actually means some of the hard and fast rules that we've all lived by we might want to go back and reevaluate some of those. We won't know because this is all still new, but like a couple months from now, we should have some really concrete data to recommend. But get the technical basics right, never goes out of style. You don't have to think about it a lot though. Just do it and then move on. James, do you mind moving to the things? Brew, you want to talk about writing like you mean it?
Again, it goes back to what I mentioned before. Like, make sure you're talking about value. You're talking about you being empathetic with the recipient, in the sense that you are not just pitching. You're trying to identify a pain. You're trying to identify what moves this recipient, and from there build trust in order to pitch your solution. So again, nothing new. It's just a reinforcement of that. The more intelligent the inbox will become, the more this will be meaningful, and the more you will have to make sure you're passing through that filter. Again, it's just going back to it's not that it's going to kill cold email, it's just going to kill lazy cold email. So you have to make sure you're not in that direction anymore.
Let's see, is there anything automate text? Yeah, I mean, we can move on to the next one. I think the first bullet is really the most meaningful on that slide, by the way, which is, like you said, about empathy. If you understand your user or your recipient and the kind of problem they face, and you can speak to that, that's probably 80% of it right there. And that's not like, you can absolutely automate that. Like, I don't know how many of you, by the way, if you have, please message in the chat or in the questions. But I don't know how many of you have tried the AI writing assistant, whether it's ours or somebody else's, but we focus in our AI writing assistant on asking you the questions to feed a prompt that we know are the things that are going to speak to that empathy. And so what we've done is we've looked at all the best practices, we've looked at the research, and we've baked into our AI writing assistant the key things that we know you need to be able to answer for the AI to be able to tweak a message out of that looks authentic and genuine and is more likely to get read. I'm not saying this because it's a feature we built. I'm saying this because I understand how they write spam filters. I think spending a little bit more energy on the creative and using AI writing is actually a much better way to get through the inbox now. It's much more important now than it has been even in the past when it was still important. The relative importance of it has gone up. If AI, because AI is actually looking at your emails almost like a person would. They're reading the email to determine from the context if this is valuable. And then there's also all the spam filter rules. But I think the purpose of having Gemini in inboxes is to try to not have this sort of dull tools be the thing that's determining what you see. It's trying to apply something that's more human-like. So the same way you would trick humans is the same way you would trick Gemini. And I don't mean trick in a negative sense, but like there's ways that you can rethink some of that. But at the end of the day, if what you're saying sounds like it speaks to the customer, talks about a problem they might have and offers some pathway to a solution, Gemini is going to read that and say, hey, is this a problem you're facing? I don't know actually how Gemini is going to say it, but like it might say, like, this is the summary on that. And I think that if you're writing a good, I mean, you know, you get emails from people all the time and you can imagine how AI might summarize that email. You can look at that and go, okay, I can tell kind of what a good email looks like from a bad email from that. Just while we're on this topic, Rui, do you know, I think this was a question from the chat as well. Do you know how Gemini is marking emails right now when it's about importance or not importance? Oh, thank you. Thank you, James.
Yeah, so I've read a few reports recently. It's not clear what's changing there. Like,
okay,
before it was a very deterministic rule. It was basically based on the number of interactions you had with some email address. But there are people that are reporting to seeing more and more emails going to the non-important part of the flow, and this is apparently Gemini is doing something there, so they are using some level of AI. Exactly how? I think it's still too soon to tell. We haven't yet seen an answer that I'm convinced of with clear evidence that that's the case. I'm guessing they still rely on the old heuristics, but they now put Gemini to get some more logic into it.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think also Google is really good about this aspect of their technology, and it's still going to be true with Gemini. They tweak it constantly. They look at results, they look at the first quarter or the first 6 months of results, and then they make an algorithm change. That's how they've done it with search forever. It's how they've done it with all the Gmail filtering forever. There's no reason to suspect that that's going to change. If anything, there's going to be a renewed emphasis on it because they have new tools to bring. So I think in terms of like how it happens right now and how it's going to happen over the next 6 months, we need to all keep an eye on that and experiment. My guess is that some of the same challenges that have been true recently about more things getting marked as not important is going to continue to be true. We'll have to see, but I feel like, by the way, if that was Justin who said that, thank you, James. I don't know how well they ever dialed this in without AI. So I also want to be cautious about overly being enthusiastic about the prospects of improvement here, because I think we just reached they tapped out on what they could do with prior technology. And the guys at Google are going to go back and reassess. But you can change the weighting in an LLM. And so there's no reason to suspect that they won't go in and adjust the weights on the algorithm that they have that's managing AI inbox. So like I wouldn't, honestly, I'll be honest, unless it's the person who works on the Gmail team in Gemini, Justin, I would probably be cautious about thinking anybody really knows the answer to that question right now. Let's see. Sorry, James, I got a little behind on the chats. Somebody made Fabio asked a question, Rui, does AI make it even more important to compress email size or compress long form messages to be as short as possible?
Well, I was going to say no, but then it seems that I'm promoting large emails. AI will not change that. The fact is that you will still need to make sure that your emails are not like very long texts and are to the point and valuable. But AI will be able to go through that, even if the email is longer or shorter, and extract the value. So it's like, think of it as you're just throwing in text to this AI assistant that it will filter out whatever you're trying to convey. The usual mistake we do as humans, while either talking to a human or in this case to an AI filter in your inbox, is that we believe that more words actually convey more knowledge or more value, which is not necessarily the case. So we still need to be clear, concise, and most of all focus on the value that we are trying to convey to the recipient. That's all. So I don't think there is a big change there. But again, I don't want to make the statement that you should send very large emails. Not at all. It's just the recommendation still stands.
The difference is in a deterministic spam filter, length is something that you can highlight. It's something you can put a rule in. The number of links is a thing you can put a rule in. The number of images. All of these are things that you build rules around that are very much black and white. And that's why some things that you care about still end up in spam. It's because they're not actually looking at all of that. They're just following some rules. Yeah. So the good news is this is... Right. That's kind of the cool part of LLMs.
Sentiment analysis, which changes the way we look into that. Yeah.
It changes that. Yeah. So this is something that would have had a hard and fast rule up until maybe 6 months ago. And now with this change here in January, as this gets rolled out, I think more and more we're going to be able to reevaluate some of this. And I think the comments that Rui and I think James wrote in the blog post are really important to highlight, which is there are things that we know are hard and fast rules. And for now, we should still treat those as true. We're also analyzing our own data and analyzing performance on these things to try to see if there is a shift. It doesn't mean there will be, or there absolutely is, but it means there's an opportunity for one, because as you introduce a probabilistic system, it allows you to change the way you do things pretty fundamentally. And I think everybody knows in email the problem with spam filters is that it's a dumb tool. And so many things get trapped by it. This is the game. So I think that, yes, many of the policies that we've learned over the years are still true. Writing shorter emails in our data tends to suggest a better reply rate. James, do you remember what the number of words in an email is where we see the tipping point in the data?
It's typically under 100 words. The more concise you can be, the more you can just get across what you're trying to say in as less copy as possible. You got to think about, and Rui and Matt, you both said this in today's webinar, the more concise you can be and the more upfront you are, you got to remember that this is someone's inbox that you're reaching. You need to respect that this is someone's inbox. You need to respect the nature of the dynamic of this interaction, which is you are coming to them from the cold to talk to them about something. So you need to be so concise and respectful of their time.
Absolutely. Yassine asked a question here. The slide mentions testing HTML versus text. Wouldn't the quality of the email test list impact the decision? How many emails you recommend in the testing phase? Yeah, thank you, James. Yassine, do you mind clarifying the question? You say, wouldn't the quality of the email test list impact the decision about HTML versus text? I want to make sure I fully understand what you are asking. In terms of how many emails you recommend in a testing phase, I think this is kind of standard statistical things, right? If you can get to 500, that's a decent sample. If you can get to 1,000, that's a much better sample. And if you're trying to figure out if something really moves the needle or not, if you send a list of, if you did an A/B test of 100 recipient lists, I don't know if that's going to give you enough data, right? So I think, yes, the quality of the list matters a lot, always does. That's the most important initial factor. And then how many emails in terms of audience size, that really depends on what you're testing. But if you don't mind clarifying in chat, I'll take a look at your clarification, make sure I understood the question properly. Anything to add to that, Rui?
Just the fact that we will very soon be able to help in those testing exercises, not disclosing anything.
I don't think it's shush, but yeah, we're bringing a lot of functionality here into the email product that Rui is alluding to help you manage and measure more and more of these things. So Yassine, I think, let me look at the chat here, but we may have lost Yassine. Look, I think the quality of the list is always the most important thing, because the very first thing that an email server is looking for is whether or not you as a sender have sent it to a bunch of blind email addresses that aren't valid. So the very most important thing is always going to be is as valid a list as possible. And then after that, that's part of, I think, the rules that we're figuring out. But in terms of testing, I don't know, Rui, do you think going down as low as 200 to 250 gives you enough statistical significance to know?
Again, it depends on the audience, right? So if the person is very well identified, the recipients are very much similar among themselves, then you can go a little bit below that for sure. But in general, that's hard to achieve. That's why you should always aim at larger numbers.
Okay. And Angelique asked a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking at exactly Angelique's question. Precisely that one, James. Thank you. And so we were just debating this before the webinar, actually. So right now, it seems that this is being a stage rollout. Not everyone is getting the same experience. Personally, what I'm seeing in my Google account and devices, for example, on the browser on Gmail, I have a button that just says summarize this. By the way, I have exactly the same button in Apple's email client. Whereas so I do, as a user, I do need to go there and press that button to get the summary. If I do the same thing in the mobile phone, so I'm an Android user, in the email app for Android, they already have the summary right up front without any user intervention. And I believe, and again, still too soon to tell what's exactly the direction they are heading, but it clearly seems to be the case that they are moving into, by default, you will have the AI summaries and the AI highlights to your inbox. So right now it's a bit tricky to answer specifically because I think they are doing a stage rollout, but that's the direction we are going.
Right now, for many users, you have to click into the email and then ask it to summarize. So the percentage, the probability that is impacting a lot of your recipients, you'd imagine is probably fairly low. I don't think a lot of us are navigating to an email and then asking AI to summarize it. That's not a common behavior pattern yet. Not if you look at the mass audience, right? As the AI summaries get integrated more and more into the view of email, this changes a bit. And I think that's the piece that we'll need to see how this shakes out through the rollout. There's definitely some evidence that Rui has mentioned that he's experienced where you do see the summaries just straight up. That would make sense. I don't think anybody would look at something that you have to go to an email and then click to get a summary as being
exactly.
as being the expected behavior of that feature.
From a UX perspective, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Nobody's going to build that. So also, it's there today. Like technically, you can do that already. You can go in and you can open the little Gmail or a Gemini tab, and you can do that. So, yeah, I think Rui's right. Like you can kind of deduce pretty clearly where this is going to go, and summaries become more important. And so, putting value up front only becomes that much more valuable. Thanks for the question. Any pros, cons? I'm curious, Chuck, sending cold emails will take significantly more time. Can you say why you believe that? Maybe I missed the point. Do you mind either amending or just putting it in? Thank you, Chuck. I see you're typing in chat. Don't be nervous. We're not all just sitting here waiting for you to finish typing, Chuck. Okay, great. It shouldn't take more time. All the automation features that we've built in to try to drive sequence automation on small like hopefully what you're taking away from this is not, oh, this is going to become very manual and this is going to become very slow and I'm going to have to do a lot of, one-to-one eyeballing of things. That's not true. It does emphasize what you do earlier in the process of automation, like making shorter, smaller lists. It's true, if you were going to email 10,000 people, it would be easy to dump all of that into one list and just kind of blast it out. We know that that's become less and less effective over the last 2 years. And that's only going to be less effective after AI gets involved, right? But breaking it down into smaller lists is something we've built a ton of capability around to try to make that easier and easier for you. Our goal for the functionality and for your user experience is that you shouldn't feel like, oh, if I'm taking a 10,000 person list and I'm going to have to break that into smaller lists, that the experience is X times whatever the effort was to create the first list. That's not what the experience should be like. It should get easier and more efficient, even to break down lists into sublists. It's not a multiplication effect on your time. It'll increase it, but a percentage increase, not a multiplied increase. And this is an area where we continue to invest a lot of energy. So like Rui and I were joking earlier, there's a lot of functionality coming around this problem. That's going to continue to be true all throughout the year. So I would say, if anything, Chuck, continue to provide feedback like I hope you are, which is if there's an aspect of the experience that you think could be made easier, please share that with us so that we know where to focus. We look at every single part of the application all the time to try to figure out how we can improve the usability of it. And so your feedback goes directly into that. So please share more if you have ideas about that. Yassine also asked a follow-up question, which is a great one. When sending cold emails to a large list, do you recommend using AI to generate unique content for each recipient? So just blanketly answering your question, yes. I want to be careful about a couple points. Sending cold emails to a large list is just inherently more risky than breaking it into smaller lists, whether you use AI or not. And let me give you an example why. You can actually use kind of human behavior and the way our brains work a little bit, because that is sort of what LLMs were modeled after, although not perfectly. If you were going to write emails to people, let's say you're going to write emails or write messages to 100 people, 1,000 people maybe, let's say 1,000 people. And those 1,000 people are comprised of different job titles. You've got some marketing people in there, you've got some CEOs, maybe you've got some CTOs. You can imagine your ability to write that email in a way that's more relevant for one of them than the other is going to be easier if you're just talking to marketers. You're just talking to the CEO crowd, and you're just talking to CTOs. And so when you think about sending cold emails to a large list, the first thing you should be asking yourself is, what's the smallest reasonable version of this list that I can make that creates a similarity among the recipients? Because if you want to create copy for an audience, the closer to each other that audience is, the better that copy will come across. That's true whether you use AI or not. But that especially becomes more true with AI, because what it means is the pattern is clearer. And so it has to conjure or hallucinate less information. Because if Rui and I have the same, it's less generic. Exactly. It can be more targeted. So the first thing to do when answering your question is like, yes, it is true. You can use AI and it'll make that better. The best way is to segment that list down to a place where if you feel like you or somebody else or an AI had that list, they could write a more coherent email around it. The more constituents you add to an audience that are diverse, the broader the message has to be, the more generic the message has to be, and the less effective it becomes. And so in a way, this is kind of standard copywriting rules. It's just that you have an AI lever to pull, but it doesn't really change that aspect of it. It just means that it's easier to automate. And so what we've done in our AI writing that's built directly into our sequences, not a plug, just clarifying, that you'll notice that our AI email writing assistant asks a series of questions rather than a prompt. And those series of questions are designed to extract the specific thing that AI needs to try to write the best email for that recipient. So if you do all of that and you create 2 separate audiences or 3 separate audiences for the different constituent groups, it's that much easier to automate, and it's going to be that much less broad and generic. So especially when I'm using AI, I try to take a step back and I say, like, what would a human be able to do more easily, or what could I give it to make it clearer for a person? Because if you can't explain it to a person, you're not going to be able to get good outcomes out of an AI. So I think, like, hopefully that answers it clearly, Yassine. You should still segment your list as small as possible. Feed in as many custom variables into your data set as possible through enrichment. And then, yes, you should definitely take advantage of AI writing assistance, whether it's in our product or not. Something I heard directly from the mouth of people on the Gmail team years ago, and it was a deep philosophy, so I believe that this will carry over to AI, is that one of the things they look for from a sender is the similarity across different emails. So Gmail was already looking at the content of the email and was comparing it against other recipients in the business. And so whenever they could see that multiple people in an organization got the same kind of email, it was more likely to get flagged for spam. AI is actually only going to make that better and easier to do. And so I think knowing that that's something Gmail has always cared about, or the Gmail team has always cared about, I think they're just going to use Gemini to emphasize that in new ways. So hopefully that helps, Yassine.
So Nia just mentioned, questioned, what is a small list? Is that like 20 people? Is that like 100 people? And I guess more towards the 20, but again, it depends on the similarity among them, right? So it's not like an exact number. Like the rule of thumb is, yes, 20, 25, 30, 40 people. It's usually a good, very tailored list. But actually what matters is how close are these people in terms of persona, like do they have the same job title, similar locations, similar pains, similar needs. If that's the case, that's what you should be looking at. But as a rule of thumb, yes, more towards the 20.
Yeah. That's why I say the smallest reasonable size. Because like if you have an audience of 1 million total, right? Your entire global audience is 1 million people. It's very possible that if you find SaaS founders of companies under 50 people who've raised a Series A, like you can set a bunch of criteria and then go back to that list and still find that that CEO list is 2,000 people. And it's like, okay, if it's 2,000 CEOs of companies under 50 in the US on the West Coast, like you can imagine building that audience in such a way where it's still a reasonably large number, but the similarities of that audience make speaking to them easier. You can be more deliberate and more specific and precise in your language. And that's the key. Think about the list size as an approximation of how crystal clear, how clear and precise you want your language to be. Those are the two levers that you're pulling to adjust. You're like, okay, well, if I make the list bigger, does that start to make my message more generic? But that's the question you're asking as you do this. And so like the reason I bring that up, if you go into manufacturing and you're trying to send emails to a manufacturing audience and you mix in, maybe it's CEOs for manufacturing companies and CEOs of SaaS companies, I imagine you're going to speak to those two groups very differently. So if you need to take a list of 10,000 and split it into two 5,000 groups, that's clearly already a better list. And then if you take that 5,000 audience of CEOs and ask yourself, can I break the CEOs of tech companies down yet again? And you can, then do it. Make the lists as small as you reasonably can get before you think, okay, this is ridiculous. Like the point is about messaging. It's not about, this unfortunately is not a science. We can't specifically point to something in the data and say, all lists should be less than 50 people. That's just, it's not that precise. What we can say is writing an email to 20 people is easier than writing an email to 50 people. Writing, whether you use AI or not. And so don't think about the size precisely, think about the audience similarities and the audience characteristics, and have you distilled that down to the most precise group you can. That should govern the size of the list more than anything.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I wish I could.
I
wish I could just say 25. That would be great.
Yeah,
sorry, Rui.
Think the other way around, right? So it's more about how granular is your definition of the persona you're trying to contact. Does it include job title, location, past experience, current pains, like industry, and so on and so forth? The more attributes, let's say, that define your persona that you're trying to put on that list, the better. That's for sure. If that translates into 20 people list, 40 people list, 100 people list, that's secondary. So you should focus on just making sure that person is super well defined. And that's why the prospecting piece is actually very important for the writing piece, because the better you prospect, the better you segment your targets, the easier it will be for you to actually write the message that is meaningful for that specific audience.
Thank you, Rui. I know it does sound sometimes like I over-index on the creative writing part. I don't know why, but it does sound like that as I describe it. But I thought, yeah, Rui, that was a great ad. How are we doing, James, on questions?
We have one more question from Marco, which I think is a great way to end today's webinar, and I'll pop that up now on the screen.
Thank you. Can I ask about MS Copilot? Ah, yes. Do you think they will catch up for MS email and looked? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Honestly, at this stage, I think we can all pretty definitively say if somebody in the AI space does something, the rest are going to do the same thing. Like, yeah.
We change slightly the flavor here and there, but yeah.
Yeah. You can see this pretty clearly play out if you just compare OpenAI and Anthropic, right, with Claude.
Yeah.
You see just like There's some things where they may take harder policy changes or harder policy positions. Like, I don't know if Anthropic is going to be in a hurry to add ads, but they'll be thinking about it. If OpenAI does it, they'll at least be thinking about it really strongly.
At least someone already opened the door for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks. The questions were great. Thank you, everybody. Hope we got to all of them. If we missed anything, as you guys know, don't hesitate to email us. I'll put Rui's direct email address in the chat so you can make sure you get direct answers to questions. Yeah, no problem. No, all joking aside.
Yeah.
Thanks for attending, Rui. Great job. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. We'll be in touch soon with next month's webinar, but for now, look out for an email in the next couple of minutes with a replay of today's session. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Rui.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Bye.
See your names.